Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Spartans. My name is Chuck Guglielmo, and we're recording today's show on, it's March 25th. It's a Wednesday, and we're here at the Conneaut High School Library, and we're now on YouTube. And we want to welcome in the principal at Conneaut High School, Stephanie Anservitz. Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
Stephanie, this is year number 6?
7.
Year number 7. I remember you telling us, it's been a while since I chatted with a high school principal. When you first came here, I think you said your first 3 or 4 years you had different graduations.
Yes.
I'll always remember that. That might be your legacy here.
Yes.
But now
Yes.
we're all back to normal.
Yes, right. Yes, finally, we've had the same thing at New Leaf the last couple years, and I feel like I'm finally getting it down, you know, like.
So starting your 7th, or you're in your 7th year,
Yeah.
does it seem that you've been here in Conneaut that long?
No, it seems like, and I think because my first year was 2019, 2020, so the year of COVID and the schools shutting down, so that was, I kind of look at everything, you know, I think we tend to look at time now in terms of before the pandemic and after the pandemic, and so my whole time here has been from that and beyond. So I've kind of looked at every year in reference to that, you know, and how things have changed in education and here and just in general. So, but when I say that it's been 7 years, it just seems crazy.
Yeah, the way time goes by,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Another thing I'll always remember is that, like, right around now to the end of the year is really the busy part of your year, and we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
But give us a little summary of how you think the year has gone so far here at Conneaut High School.
Well, I can't believe we're at a couple days away from spring break already. So I feel like it has just flown, you know. It starts off so busy because we're like fall sports and activities and all that stuff are just so heavy. You know, we've got I think 8 different sports going on, and then you throw in band and the music things and all, you know, all of that, and it's just a really ambitious, busy start to the school year. And then we kind of get through that and we have a little lull, and then we get into winter sports. And this year we had a lot of snow days and cold weather, and which I think for us as just Northeast Ohioans was just very trying, you know.
A lot
the
of
weather was
disruptions,
just
too.
Yeah. So but it's been a good year.
Do you
Yeah.
find that the year, the first semester or the second semester, which one seems to go by a little quicker for you?
I think it's definitely the second. I think just because, you know, we're getting into that time now where we're just constantly planning for whether it's state testing in April or graduation and all of those senior things in May. It's just like we're just trying to stay one step ahead and make sure we've planned for everything and, you know, made time in the schedules for everything. So there's just a lot, and I feel like the busier we are, the faster the time goes.
Let's talk a little bit about high school enrollment. Now, of course, Conneaut High School takes on grades 9 through 12. Some of our students go to ATEC. Some of our students are in the CCP classes. We've just made our way around doing mock interviews to all the area schools. And by the way, I think Conneaut High School did an excellent job this year at
Thank you.
mock interviews. And some of the administrators there were telling me that the CCP and the ATEC students takes away a lot of kids from the building. Do you find that to be the case here?
It does. I mean, and I can't fault them for that. You know, the opportunities are wonderful, and I feel like our students do have a lot of opportunities to personalize their learning for what they are, you know, planning to do after high school. So if CCP is a good fit, then they absolutely should take advantage of that. If ATEC is a fit, and, you know, we have a lot of kids who come in as freshmen knowing they want to go to ATEC. They know they want to go into this particular program, and ATEC is growing their 10th grade program. So we've had, we're seeing greater numbers of students go as 10th graders now for their CTE. It's kind of like a survey. So they kind of check out 5 or 6 different lab programs there as sophomores, and then they choose one as a junior. So I think it's great. It's a great option for our students. The hard part is keeping them connected here. So we do our best to try and communicate with them. We've got like daily announcements, Google Classroom, where they can go in and see what we're announcing on the morning announcements on YouTube, and then on the afternoon announcements. We communicate through email with them a lot, send things to the families through Final Form. So we try to keep them all connected, especially if they're CCP kids who really don't come in the building much at all. You know, and our ATEC kids are never here. So we try to make sure that they know they're still with us. They're still our Conneaut kids. But
and our CCP students and ATEC students, to my knowledge, I've seen it, they can participate in any school extracurricular activity.
Yes, yep.
Whether it be sports, music, or whatever.
Right, yes, yep.
And do you find a lot of them do?
Yes, we do. We do have a lot of participants. I think it varies by sport. I know just recently off the top of my head, I know we have a lot of wrestlers who go to ATEC. And that's what, I know we have a lot of football players too. So it's nice. It's a nice opportunity for them to still be connected to their friends here.
As far as what you got in the building, not counting the CCP and the ATEC, of the 4 grades, do we have any idea like how they rank as far as how many students are in the class?
Yeah, we have about 400 total in the building.
More than I thought.
Yeah, and because our classes average around 120 per class. So as far as, and so I should say the 400 includes our CCP kids, but we don't really have that many who are never here. Like I would say the majority of our CCP kids are here at least a little bit, at least for 1 or 2 periods, even if it's just band or
so they're still
like
appearing in the building.
Yes,
I see.
Yeah, for the most part.
But not ATEC, of course.
No, yeah, not the ATEC. But we actually do have a couple ATEC kids who come back for band. So, and they've been good about working with us to make that possible for them. It all depends on when their lab is there, because that's their big chunk of time in their day. And if it's an afternoon lab and we have band in the afternoon, then it's a little harder. But we do our best to make it work.
For our ATEC students from Conneaut that go to ATEC, do they graduate from ATEC, our seniors, or do they graduate from Conneaut?
They graduate from here. They receive their diploma from here. ATEC has they call it their Senior Awards Program, and it's one program for all of the high schools that filter into ATEC, and they don't actually receive diplomas there, but they'll receive, they do, I want to say it's called a career passport. It's a beautiful portfolio that's kind of like a resume, a thing they can provide to a potential employer that shows all the credentials they've earned, kind of what they've accomplished as a student in that program there. It's a very nice ceremony. It's always held on the Friday going into Memorial Day weekend. And it's been at Jefferson High School. It used to be at Lakeside all the time in their gym, but it hasn't been there, last year it wasn't there, so.
Right. Thanks to you, we have some great students here at Conneaut. When I say thanks to you for allowing us to come in and talk to some of these great students, like the Youth Philanthropy, the National Honor Society, the Quiz Bowl team, yearbook team, exchange students, and so forth. We appreciate you allowing us to come in and do those interviews with the kids. Tell us what you think those organizations mean to our school and to the students.
Well, I think they're great opportunities for students to find something that's kind of their niche, of something to belong to or something that interests them. And I think, at the high school level, I always say there's something for everybody, and everyone generally kind of finds their way with who they fit in with, who they click with, what they're interested in, and maybe what, in terms of future planning, what are they looking for in terms of, what kind of classes do I want to take to prepare me? And so these kinds of things give them that experience as well. I think we, in our own minds, we look at things through our own perspective of what it was like when I was in high school, or what kind of things should high schools offer, and we have like the standard, the sports, the music, and things like that, but I feel like some of those things offer that other piece for someone looking for something more academic. So we've got Quiz Bowl. Youth Philanthropy is a fantastic program to get, I think it does a nice job at making kids aware of resources in the community that are there to support people for
Good
all different
charitable
reasons.
organization.
Yes, and I think just through that process of conducting interviews with those organizations, they learn so much about what's available in this community. I mean, I know I have, just from going to they have a youth philanthropy luncheon in April for all the schools in the high school, or in the county, and they talk about the different organizations where they donated their money, and it's fascinating to see what kind of organizations exist to support these communities in the county. So I think it's very important for kids to see that too, and to be a part of that.
And we have some, like I say, we have great students in those areas.
Yes.
Music is, I got to talk about music and theater, because they're booming here at Conneaut.
Yes.
And I think that's a credit to Austin Blair, that's a credit to Madison Mason and some of the other music people, Bernardini, Trost. It's big. Like, we
Yes.
just had a play here called
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors. And they've had Wizard of Oz, they've had Addams Family. What do you think that does for our kids or the community to see all that expanding here at Conneaut?
I think it's an encouraging sign of growth and more opportunities for our students to be involved in things. So kind of like what I was just saying about finding that thing where you fit in, and what makes you want to come to school and be a part of something. I think that's the most important thing today with kids. I think because of, there's ups and downs of social media and phones and technology and all of that, but I think kids who come here and find something to be a part of are more successful, because they're making human connections. They're coming in and being a part of a group and something bigger than them, and someone who's going to hold them accountable and have goals and something that they're working towards as a group, whether it is a team or a music group or the theater or production. It's something that you can't replicate in your phone. And I think that human interaction is so important. The performance aspect of getting outside of their comfort zone and standing up on a stage and singing a solo or with a group or performing music. And I think that's, anytime you have such a range of opportunities for students, I think it's a real asset to the schools and to the community.
Oh, sure. And as you know, I'm a big sports guy, but I also love my music, and I got to see some of this online stuff from the band performing down in Universal.
In Florida, yeah.
They did very, very well.
They made us very proud, yes.
They did very, very
Yes.
well. Another thing that was very, you were at the Winter Sports Awards, and you presented as well. Some of the sports that don't get, like, they're not football, they're not basketball. Those are the main sports that get most attention. But we have to look at swimming, and we have to look at Liam Rich.
Yeah.
4 years in a row, MVP.
Right.
I don't know if that's ever happened before, but if it has, it can't be often.
Right.
Great sports from Liam Rich and others.
Yeah.
In some of the sports that people don't really notice as much.
Right. Because those, the like swim meets they're not the several nights a week happening. It's usually like an invitational on a Friday night or a Saturday, and there's lots of events. So it doesn't have like here's the outcome of they won, they lost.
Right.
It's a lot more detailed in the reporting, and sometimes a lot of those like personal victories or setting new records or personal bests, we don't hear about those as much.
Right.
But yeah, they're doing great things, and the program has just continued to grow. I think especially since I've been here, I've seen it.
That's what Coach Morrison was telling us. There have been a lot of kids from the middle school getting into swimming as well. Girls basketball, Alexis Warner breaking a 3-point record, 44. Right. That stood since 1991. So we've had some big time accomplishments in some of these extracurricular activities that you say are good for our kids.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So that's something to be proud of. Plus the girls basketball team, 9 wins in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, you start 3-11.
The tale of 2 seasons.
Yeah,
there,
you start 3-11. It's so easy to go south. But I think Nicole Grimmett has done an outstanding job with them. And if I had a vote, she'd be my coach of the year just for doing that.
Right.
She's done a great job with them. And then wrestling. We've had 3 go to the deep into the tournament.
Right.
Distal, Griswold, Dobrin.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So we got to be proud of that. So
Yeah.
music, sports. Now we got spring sports coming up, and it's
Spring
tough to get
sports,
in.
I know.
I feel sorry for our AD because they have to
Right.
reshuffle and reshuffle.
Yeah.
But the Spark Complex now, a lot of improvements coming to that. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I just, and this is something I learned very quickly when I started here 7 years ago, and I have marveled at this and been so appreciative of this since I've been here, because I'm not from Conneaut, but the support in this community, and I think the love this community has for the schools, for the facilities, for, being a part of things that take place here. I think that whole facility over there is just a testament to how much people care and value the investment in this community for things like that, because that is a tremendous asset to the community, and because it's not just used for our high school events. The youth programs use those facilities. Because we have that track facility with lights, we're able to hold bigger meets and invitationals. To have a separate soccer and football field is amazing, and tennis courts with lights for a small community like this it's a phenomenal asset.
State-of-the-art tennis courts.
Yeah.
State-of-the-art track facility, and now the stadium renovations
Right,
too
yeah,
coming in.
it's all very exciting.
It is very
Yes.
exciting. Since you've been here, we've also been able, like I said, to come in and interview exchange students. We've got two great ones again this year. One's from Belgium and one's from Germany. Thank you for letting us come in, because I learned so much about them and the
Yes.
culture. And how do you see over the years exchange students? How do you see our kids? What's the word I'm looking for? Get with the with the exchange students.
I think it's been great to see. We've had really good experiences since I've been here with the exchange students that we've had. Some of them have been part of, living with a family of a current student. Sometimes they've lived with, former students. But either way, I think it's just such an undertaking, to just go to another country and just become a part of this and not really know anything about it. But they came here so excited for that, and they wanted to see what the American way of life was like. What is life in American high school like? And I think it's such a great experience for our kids to get a different perspective, because they talk with them in classes and they ask them questions and they learn about what life is like in their country. They're seeing what it's like here. So, and for the most part, most of them have been involved in things when they've been here too. They've played sports.
I was just going to say they can participate just like our students.
Right. Yeah, there's some
eligible
paperwork
to.
we have to do through the OHSAA, just to verify some things, but it usually always works out for them. But I think it's a great thing for them. It's such a unique experience.
It is. I enjoy my interviews with them.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I came up with some pillars, my own, for a school principal. They may not be what they are, but one of them is leadership vision. So my question would be, I got 3 questions under that pillar.
Okay.
What is your vision for Conneaut High School?
I would say, I think something that I've tried to work towards is just kind of like a continuous growth model. Not necessarily going from here to here in 1 year's time, but are we moving the needle? Are we taking steps toward improvement? I think that's
Progress,
always the
yeah.
goal, is just progress. And I think it's easier to do that when that help you make little steps towards that, rather than coming in with a bunch of new things and saying, this is what we need to do, and kind of imposing that on people. I think it works better when you're able to kind of help bring people into that process and help them be a part of it and want to own it, and also share that vision. Because it's not, I guess ultimately I'm in charge, but I want everyone to feel that way. So I think it's also building that culture of, this is what we all want for kids, and helping everyone kind of move that forward.
It's probably going to be your answer to the next one. What core message do you like to get across to the students? Like, say, probably before the first day of school.
Yeah. Well, This year, I mean, for the last several years, again, because of the way things have shifted since the pandemic, a big focus of ours has been on attendance. And one thing that we've said a lot this year in our communication to students is be here to be a part. A part, not a part. But, and like I said before, about how important it is for them to be connected to things, to be involved in things. And I think since the pandemic, since we had to go to remote learning and, things where things are accessible here and away, it's made it nice in some ways, but in some ways it's kind of made it like, well, I can just get the work, so it's okay if I'm not there. And that's really not the case, because you can't replicate what's taking place live in the classroom when you're sitting at home just getting the assignment. And so one thing that we've really emphasized a lot this year, as we do every year, is attendance, but being here to be a part of things that are happening here, whether it's socializing with your friends at the lunch table, or going to an assembly, or being a part of a group or a club or a team. That's really, we want them to see value in the high school experience and what they're getting out of being here. So I think that's an important thing. We really want them to connect with each other while they're here. And I think having the new state law regarding cell phones has helped that. To really, because they're not sitting there on their phones, they are talking to each other at the lunch tables now. So I think that's important.
Well said. Well said. What inspired you to this position? Now, your husband's in that background as well,
He
right?
is, yes.
Yeah.
He's a retired school administrator. So my mom was a teacher. My husband's mom was a teacher. She actually taught at Conneaut.
Runs in the family.
Yeah, it does. My brother-in-law was a teacher. So a long line of teachers, I guess, on both sides of our family. I think I was drawn to a leadership role. I think just because I'm kind of like what I said before about wanting to just always do better, always move a little further. I think I tend to want I like change, I like progress, I like coming up with new ideas. So I think this gives me an opportunity to do that, to take a little bit of a creative approach to leadership and work with people in a way to help everyone achieve. So I think that was appealing to me.
Now, your two sons are not into education,
No,
are they? No,
they're
What
both
about
in
the daughter?
business. No, she says
Not
she doesn't
interested?
she's not interested in education at all.
Another pillar, of course, is student safety. So how do you create a positive, safe environment here at the high school? What part do you play in that?
I think, what we really try to do is be consistent in enforcing our expectations. And so with like some recent changes we've had over the last couple of years with regards to safety, we have door alarms now. So all of our doors are, all of the exterior doors are alarmed except for this main entrance where the office is able to buzz people in and out. And so we have expectations for that, that we've moved to. We started that last school year with staff having to swipe in and out to leave the building, and so it secures the perimeter of the building, and now that's become a part of the routine, and everyone's good with that. For students, we have one in and out, so even our CCP students who are sometimes in and out of the building, they have to enter and exit through the main entrance. So yes, they have to walk around to the parking lot. It's not always convenient.
They're young.
But we try to, right, and sometimes if it's raining or it's really bad, I'll walk a student to a door and let them out so they can just,
Sure.
well, you don't have to make them go out. But
It's great to have that safety, but yet it's sad too, isn't it?
it
That
is,
we've come to
it
that.
is, right. I mean, our protocols are that classroom doors are closed and locked, during instruction. So, it's checking hallways, making sure doors are closed and things like that. But it does help that we have all those things in place so that, God forbid, in the event of something happening, we've already taken this many steps to keep all the doors secured. The classroom doors are secured. We know
We're on
where
top of
everyone
it.
is. We have an electronic hall pass system now where students log in and create the pass, the teacher approves it. So at any given time, I can go in and look at, who is out on hall passes and where they are and how long they've been out of class. So it's just, and again, that's just consistency from classroom to classroom. So it's really a team approach of keeping everyone on board and following through consistently from room to room. And I think the staff does a wonderful job with that.
Also consistent, I would think, with the other 3 school buildings in Conneaut, probably follow the same protocols. How does the school support students' mental health?
Well, we have a wonderful partnership with the Community Counseling Center, and we have some of their staff members in each of our buildings. And so they are able to see students on an as-needed basis. They also have students who are formally on their caseloads that they see as clients, and they're able to see them during the school day. We also have our, Mr. Appleby is our school counselor. Dr. Dobrin and I both will see students as needed. I think a lot of students, I would say a lot of students deal with mental health issues, some more than others, but I think everyone's dealing with a little bit of something. And, whether it's just a current stressful situation or something that bothers them consistently. And so I think one thing we try to emphasize is the importance of connections with someone, because there are students who like to see the counselor, but there are students who have connections with teachers that they're able to talk to. And,
which is wonderful.
And that's the important thing, is feeling so even if like the person with the title might not be available, as long as they feel like there's someone they can talk to, that's an important thing.
That's a wonderful feeling to know that.
Right, yes. And so we do encourage, those positive relationships between, staff and students, so that they feel like they know where to go if they need something.
My next question might deal more with Emily Dobrin, or maybe it does deal with you as well. What is your method to discipline when handling serious conflicts with students?
Well, I think the most important thing is having a good picture of the whole situation. So talking to the student who's involved, but then also talking to the staff member. If there are witnesses to whatever the issue is, we make sure that we talk with everyone. We want to make sure we have the complete picture of what's going on. And then I will say it's not always black and white or clear cut. A lot of times with any situation, there's gray areas, and I think we try to look at it in the fairest way possible, to be fair and consistent, so that we're, consistently implementing what's listed in the student code of conduct, but also hoping that the idea behind the consequences, that the student learns from that, and ultimately we see a change in the behavior.
Another pillar I had down here was academic achievement. You talked a little bit about it. What strategies have you implemented to improve student achievements?
Well, we've been looking a lot more at using data to kind of drive our instruction in the classroom. And so some of our classes, I say some with a small portion of the total number of classes we offer here are based on or have a state test attached to them. There's only 6 of them. There's 6 state tests that students have to take to graduate. And so those courses have a lot of resources aligned to them that, because with all of our classes, we focus on here's what the learning standards are and here's how we're going to teach them throughout the course of the semester or the year. But those state tested courses have a lot of resources that help us look at specifically which areas of the content are kids doing well in, which ones do they need more help in. And so we have a lot more targeted support available to help them ultimately be successful on those tests, which is what we want. But academic success is more than just doing well on state tests. So in all the other classes, we're doing the same kind of thing, but teachers are looking at data. And when I say data, it's not necessarily stuff that's been pulled into spreadsheets and we're analyzing it, but we're looking at patterns of growth for students. So at the beginning of a unit, they might have sort of a pretest, and they look at, okay, here's where the kids are with these concepts now. They instruct the lesson at, the whole unit, and then they have an assessment at the end, and then we look at how far did they get during that time. And so I don't always mean data in like the numbers and all that kind of sense, but just more in relation to the learning standards, because every course has learning standards of some sort, whether it's state standards or for some of our electives, there are more kind of like national standards for, I'll say like for phys ed and some of those courses, Spanish, world languages have a kind of a framework that they follow. And so there's always a connection to some, learning objectives that they're following. And in the end, we just want to know, like, are the kids getting there?
I like the part when you said the growth.
Yeah,
Because,
right.
here's what somebody did in October, now what are they doing in March?
Right.
You want to see that growth
Right.
as we go by.
Right.
Very good. How well do you think our students adapt to the curriculum and the never-stopping technology?
Yeah. Well, I think that
They
one of
know
the
so
biggest-
much technology.
They do. And our biggest issue right now in general is AI. And that's something that we've talked about it this year. All the districts are expected to have an AI policy by July, I believe it is. Because it's not something we can just close our eyes to anymore. It's here. It can be a fantastic tool, but I think there's a way to responsibly use it, and there's a way to use it to circumvent, doing the work. And so I think that's the challenge right now, is finding out how to work with it, because it's not going to go away. It can be really good, but that's really the struggle and the challenge right now, is helping them understand when and how it's appropriate to use, to benefit them, to help them work maybe smarter and not harder, but not to do the work for them, So, and I've heard that from, my own kids as they have gone through college, their instructors and professors are trying to adapt to it as well. It's definitely a challenge.
An issue too,
So,
really.
yeah, right, it is,
Yeah.
it is.
This is a tough part, I would think, for your job too, is what advice do you have for the struggling student and for the thriving student? How do you balance that? Like, how can you help a student we're all human, so we're all different. How can you help a struggling student, say, as much as you can help a thriving student?
Well, I think the important part is to be able to recognize what their needs are. And so, like, here's an example. When I first started teaching, I was a kindergarten teacher for 9 years, and then I moved around to, in the district I was in, there was some closing and consolidating of buildings, and so I moved around to some other grade levels, but nothing higher than 3rd grade. And then I also hold another license in high school, 7 through 12 science. So 1 year I was teaching 1st grade, and the next year I was moved to the high school and teaching 11th and 12th graders. And, people ask me, how do you do that? Like, how do you go from 1st grade to 11th grade? Well, and what I said was they're still kids, and they still need a caring adult.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter if they're 6 or they're 17. You figure out what they need and you meet them there. And so the students who struggle maybe to come to school or with their grades or with their mental health, it's finding out what that biggest barrier is and trying to start there. Because like I can wear my education hat and say, well, we want everyone to do well academically, we want them to pass tests, we want them to graduate, but how they get there is going to look different, whether they're, a struggling student or one of our high achieving students struggle too, but they struggle with different things. And so it's just finding out individually. It can never be just a broad blanket approach to helping kids. It's unique to whatever their situation is.
You have great versatility to from 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
I bet the 5-year-olds give you more hugs, though.
They do.
And I bet you enjoyed every one of those
I did.
jobs,
I
too.
did. I mean, I've enjoyed, like I said before, I like change. My husband's career, he taught fourth grade in the same room every year until they closed the building. And then he moved from there to a junior high administrator, and he worked there until he retired. Where I've done a lot of different things, and I like it. I like,
can see
I
that
like
you
the
really
challenge.
love
and,
what you do, no matter what level
yeah.
you're at.
Right.
How do I want to say this one? Is it more difficult for the bigger kids, or would it be more difficult with the little kids when you were teaching?
Well, I think it's just different.
They create their different problems,
yes,
right?
Yeah, it's different. And, when I taught kindergarten, I had the same group of 20 students all day. And so I had time within my day to problem solve different issues, because it's like, okay, this afternoon when we're doing this, I'm going to pull this one aside and I'm going to work on this. And I knew them so well because I had, only a few. At the high school level, time is the challenge, whether you're in the classroom or like from our position. We talk about interventions and supports to help kids. And like I said, when I taught first grade and I worked with 3 other first grade teachers, we all had the same schedule we followed during the day. We had the same planning time. So we could crisscross groups of, I'll take these kids and work on this and you can work on that. But now, when we look at kids who need help, we've got this 8-period day, and they're here for 42 minutes in math and 42 minutes in science. And so if there's something that they're struggling in, it's more challenging to find out when we'll provide that support, or, when we can pull them and do this, or, connect with them about that. So that the time is definitely, it's different in the high school.
Talking about community earlier, how is parent involvement here at the high school? I know in the elementary, it's probably more so for like parent-teacher conferences and so forth, but how would you say the parents get involved here?
Well, I will say we are very lucky with the booster groups that we have for different
We have some great ones,
organizations. Yes, between athletics and the different music booster groups, we are very blessed to have people who are willing to spend the time to do that, because they are a lot of time commitment. When you look at just running concession stands, it's
they work hard.
Having them staffed and stocked, and all the work that they do is really great. And I think to kind of give a shout out to those parents generally have kids who do it all. So they're not just athletes, they're also in the band, and they do all the things. And so these parents are not just helping out in one area, they're helping out kind of across the board. You mentioned parent conferences. I will say our attendance is usually much lighter than, Gateway and Lakeshore. But I think once you get to the high school level, a lot of parents have figured out the best method that works for them to stay on top of things or to communicate. I know a lot of teachers will say they email parents, and so there's communication going on. Parents can check grades through Progress Book, and a lot of them do. And so, kind of like waiting for that opportunity in February to come in and sit down with the teacher, it's not like it used to. And that's just kind of everywhere in education. It's because you just have a lot more ways to get in touch with the school now than you used to.
And when I was chatting with our superintendent, Lori Riley, just because we have days designated for parent-teacher conferences, a parent and a teacher, I'm assuming here too, can really meet anytime they want to,
anytime,
right? It doesn't have to be just
right. It doesn't have to be
those
then.
times.
I mean, if there's, and we, encourage the teachers that if you're seeing things for a student that are out of character, you've noticed their grades dropping, we encourage them to reach out to parents, because that communication is so much easier now. Like I said, but I mean, when I was in school, if my mom wanted to call the school, there was one number in the office to call, and you weren't going to talk to the teacher, so
Right.
I mean, it's so much easier now.
What opportunities down the road, Stephanie, maybe even by next year, do you see here at CHS?
As far as new things coming along, or
any new things?
well, I'm trying to trying to think if we
Out
have.
with the old, in with the new.
No, and I'm always cautious with things like that.
Yeah, true.
Because
Yes.
anytime you come in with like, here's something new we're doing this year, I don't want to stay like the same forever. I try to like
We don't want to
bring
stay
in.
complacent either.
Right, we don't want to stay complacent, and if there are things that need changed, then we should. And I was just reading a newsletter from a professional organization that I'm a member of, and they talked about some things to start considering this time of year as you start to plan for next year. And one of the strategies they talked about was a stop, start, continue idea. And so it was looking at different programs and things you have going on in your school and getting feedback from the staff or students or whomever. What should we maybe stop doing? What should we start doing, and what do we want to continue? And I think that was a great idea to look at, not problems, but, things that are going on in the school as a whole, and as we're starting to plan for, like you said, what do we need to get rid of? What do we want to start new next year? That I think it's important to get feedback from all of the stakeholders on that, because I know I have to make a lot of decisions, but I want to make sure, like I talked about before, I want to make sure that everyone's on board with that.
Do you ever look feedback from students, what they may want or what they may not want or anything like that?
We
Do you look
have.
at that too?
Yes, we have done that. We've asked students for feedback before about a variety of things, but I know last year, to prepare for this year, we had asked them about some electives courses. And we had asked the staff, are there other courses that you would like to teach? Or things that you're interested in your content area? And some content leads itself to that a little better than others. It's kind of harder with math electives, but we do have some new courses that we've offered over the last couple of years that have come out of student interest and teacher interest. And so we kind of asked them, if these courses were offered, would you sign up for it? And for the ones that they said yes, we have offered those, and they've been successful. So we do try to get their input on it. if we can.
Do you, during the day at all, occasionally, not every day, not even monthly maybe, but do you ever like to go into the classrooms, or do you think that's a disruptive thing?
No, I do like to go in. I will say I don't get in there as often as I would like to. I'm in and out. I would say I'm in some classrooms or, kind of nearby every day. Obviously, there's sometimes I have to be in there for evaluations and things. And when I am in there, I always find myself wishing I could be in there more. I know there's time, I was in an English class a couple weeks ago, and they were having such an interesting discussion, and I told the teacher, I said, I want to come back tomorrow because I want to hear how it ends, and so there are great things happening in the classrooms, and I do miss that, because I still have connections with kids, but I do miss that sometimes.
It's almost like you want to teach the class for that day, right?
It's fun to be there, so.
Yeah. How do you measure staff student success? Obviously, you just said you go in and observe, but how else, is there other ways you can measure the student staff success?
I think when we see, kind of when I do those like walk by things, and you see the dynamic of what's taking place in the class. When you see that the kids seem engaged, that they're interacting with each other when it's appropriate, in a way that relates to the topic, or they're, if they're doing collaborative work, they're all on task and engaged in what they're doing. I think that's an important part. But what I also take note of is, as I mentioned before, the interactions between the staff and the students. And you see that a lot in the halls. At class changes, the teachers are at their doors, students are stopping by, talking to them, so they value
Friendly environment.
that. Yes, it's definitely, it's the environment, it's the culture, and we see that. And even like after school, a lot of days we'll find kids like still here in the building. Are you going home? But I had to go talk to so-and-so, and I had to go do this. And so it's not a place that they're looking to run out the door, when the bell rings.
It's not like a 7:30 to 2 o'clock thing. Yeah.
Right.
How would you describe Kanye High School as far as school spirit goes? How are the kids' spirits?
I think it's good. I think they do want to be a part of things. But going back to, something I had mentioned before, I will say sometimes it's hard to get kids to want to be a part of things because it's too social for them, or it's too, I don't want to be in that group, I don't want to be up here, so I think we've seen that kind of come and go over the years with like the stage crew, with the I think the more they can encourage, like the themes I think are helpful, because it's like, hey, let's all do this tonight, let's all dress in pajama pants or whatever the theme is, and I think it's important for the students to kind of take a lead on that, because we can tell them all day long what we think they should do. But I think when the students get each other, then they're more willing to be like, okay, yeah, I want to be a part of that because this is what the other kids are doing. So I think the school spirit is good, but I think that's one thing we're trying to find more ways to encourage kids to be more involved and to attend things. Just because I think those are I always tell kids this when we have graduation practice, day before graduation, and we have them all in front of us in their seats at New Leaf, and I tell them, like, this tomorrow is the last time that you will be here together as this group of 120 kids. And I said, you've been here because you've had to be. You all live in Conneaut, you're all required to go to school, you've gone through school together, and tomorrow's the last time you're going to be like this. And for better or worse, don't forget that. Like look at the person to your right and your left, and take that time to look back on the 4 years, the 8 years, the 12 years you've been in school together. And so I hope that they are making the most of their opportunities. It's great to see, like when I came to the musical Friday night, I saw so many students there in the audience, and I thought it was great for them to come and support their friends and just take advantage of the things that high school gives you, and I hope that they see value in that and not just sitting at home on their phones or, being afraid to go out and socialize because they just don't feel like it, because we have so much to offer here.
I have one more question for you, and then I want to close out with the end of the year stuff. Can you recall any impactful thing a student has said to you recently? Anything impactful? Or in your career, for that matter?
Well, yes, and this, in my career, yes, because this has stuck with me forever. I had a student when I was teaching high school science, and we were on a block schedule. She was in my room, for a long time every day, and she was applying to colleges, and she was asking me for help with this. I'd look at her application. I kind of helped her a little. I didn't feel like I did a ton, but I would always answer her questions and try and help. And I remember her coming up to me one day and saying, she showed me her computer, and she goes, "I got in." She goes, "And you helped."
Oh, now that has to make you feel great.
And that has always stuck with me, because, and this is, I've said this probably 4 times since we've been talking. It's the connections that you make with kids that stick with them, that stick with you, because I think, in teaching, whether you're an elementary teacher and you've got 25 kids a year, or you're a high school teacher and you've got 125 kids a day, a lot of times it's sometimes the growth is slow, and you don't always see the outcome right away. But when you hear things like that, it's like, okay.
When you hear somebody say, "You helped me."
Right, yeah. right. And you don't always hear the things like that.
No, you don't.
Can get consumed with the stress and the negativity, but so those are, and that just goes back to like the connections that you have with kids that are just so important.
Busy time of the year coming up. We'll close with this, Stephanie. Of course, Easter break is, or spring break is next week.
Next week, yeah.
Right. So when we come back from that, run us through everything that's going to be happening. We got prom coming up. And
yes. So we've got state testing is in April. We've got 3 days of testing starting, I think, April 14th.
And this is for what grade level?
It's mostly 9th and 10th grade. So the April 14th, 15th, and 16th, and then the following week, I believe it's a Tuesday and Wednesday, But there's 5 days of testing, so we run an adjusted schedule those days. That's most of what's going on in April, is on the school side of things. And then prom is May 2nd. It's going to be at Andrus Banquet Center in Ashtabula.
Is that a different venue?
It is different this year. We've
Okay.
been at the Lodge in Geneva the last 2 years, but we have been at Andrus before. We were there, I think, 3 years ago when my son was a senior. So that should be a great time.
3 years ago, Ben graduated.
Yeah, in 23.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's been 3 years
Right,
already.
I know.
Oh my gosh,
I
I didn't
know,
mean to
time
interrupt, but.
flies, yeah. And then, let's see, we've got AP testing, so our advanced placement classes, they all have like national exams that take place during the school day and at different dates in May. We will have our annual senior walkthrough of the other buildings. They put on their
Which
caps
is
and
nice,
gowns
yes.
and go through all the other buildings. And
Those
then-
little kids love seeing that.
Yes, yeah, I love that, and it almost makes me tear up, because
Yeah,
the teachers, and I think this is something Mr. Appleby so cleverly decided, to have them wear name tags. Because sometimes, if the last time you saw this child was when they were a third grader.
Yes.
And now they're a senior, they look different.
Yes.
Sometimes their hair is a different color, they just look so different. So it's very sweet to see the teachers, So that's coming up in May, and we'll have senior signing day and a picnic that day as well.
You having a fun day this year out in the high school?
I bet we will. We
on the
haven't
field?
talked about that, but we usually do. We've got a career fair coming up also in May for juniors and seniors, and that'll be in the gym. Some spring concerts. There will be a spring band and choir concert in May. And then graduation is May 30th. Baccalaureate is returning this year. We didn't have one last
Oh,
year,
good.
but we will be having one this year on the night before graduation, that Friday, the 29th.
Are you finding more interest in that this year?
Yeah, we've got a fantastic group of kids who had actually reached out to Nick Irochi and had asked about it, and so they've got a whole planning committee with Nick Prokosky, Nick Irochi.
Oh, that's great.
And a great group of kids the plans are really very fully developed already, so it's awesome to see that, so,
So
yeah.
very busy end of the year. Now, how do I'll say the seniors at least, are they antsy? Are they getting to that
They're
point
getting
yet?
there, yes. Yeah, they're definitely getting there. It's that time of year, but they're also trying to stay focused too, because it's kind of crunch time. It's applications for scholarships are coming due, and but really, as far as like the ones who are college bound, so much of that has been pushed into senior year. I know, like when I went to college, I went and had orientation and scheduled in the middle of the summer before I went, but now they're doing that now. They're going and having, I know one who's going Friday to schedule her classes for next fall. So a lot of that, so they've kind of had to stay on their toes as far as keeping in touch with, the schools and what they have to do for everything, so.
And then my final question would be the 8th graders from the middle school that'll be coming here. Do they do that in May, or is that being done in August, where they can get a look at the building?
Yeah, so we just did an event. We've done this for probably the last, I want to say 4 years. I think
Got a
we've
good
done.
group
We've
of
had
8th graders coming.
Yeah, we've had it's called an 8th grade transition to high school evening, and we did it the first week of March this year on a Wednesday night, and so the parents could schedule kind of a half-hour slot, and we had, I think, 10 or 11 teachers in here in the library who met with students individually, and we have a whole booklet of stuff that we go over with them, information about what to expect when you come to high school, and we give that to them to take away, and we give them a little tour, and so they have like a one-on-one session with the teacher, and then they take a tour, and we had probably about 40 kids who came for that. So that's always a nice evening. We get good feedback from the parents and the students that they enjoy that. But then we'll have a freshman orientation in the fall, a few days before school starts. That's always very well attended. We usually break it up into 2 sessions because it's a lot.
And they get a little
people.
nervous coming
Yes,
to a building.
right,
They want,
right.
where do I go? And,
Right.
and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
So-
who gives them that tour? Do you do that?
No, I don't personally. We usually have student volunteers who do that. Sometimes it's National Honor Society, sometimes it's the cheerleaders. We have a group who's usually willing to come in and help out with that. So, yeah, it's usually student-led, which is nice because they can give their perspective too.
Well, very good.
So, yeah.
You did a very good job, as usual. Glad you could spend some time with us, and continued success.
All right, thank you
And
very
hope you're in
much.
Conneaut for a long, long time.
Yeah, me too.
Principal, Conneaut High School, Stephanie Anservitz, today on Inside the Spartans.